It's now been exactly 1 year since Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 was shot down over rebel-held territory in eastern Ukraine.
What strikes me 1 year on is how little has changed. Ordinary people in Donbas, like the 298 on board MH17, continue to die and suffer.
That was the Deputy Chief Monitor of the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, the OSCE. He says the area where MH17 crashed is still unstable. And now we are seeing video from the moments after MH17 was shot down. CCTV's Guy Henderson joins us live from the Netherlands, where a large memorial service was held. Guy.
Well, yes, Elaine, this latest video that's emerged is obviously always very difficult to verify, but I've sent the link to it to an expert who deals a lot with social media coming out of Syria, and he told me that on initial impressions, this does seem to be genuine. Now, it shows the gradual realization amongst these Russian-backed Ukrainian rebels as they are sifting through the wreckage of the site, the slow realization that this is not a military aircraft, but in fact a passenger plane filled with civilians. Very disturbing moments on this video, a particularly disturbing moment as the text on the translation from Russian to English appears to describe somebody saying that they had seen somebody crawling along the ground at another site. So extremely disturbing images. Behind me earlier on Friday was the place where exactly a year after the families of the 190 Dutch victims of this plane crash stood in silence at the exact moment that the flight went off radar. For many of those families who we've spent time with in the last couple of weeks, they say that the last 12 months has been an endless, seemingly endless wait for answers.
It's been 1 year, and Selena Fredericks is still trapped in a nightmare.
So that is Bryce and Daisy?
Yeah, it was taken, it's a selfie.
Holding on to her son Bryce is terribly painful, but she can't let go. He and his girlfriend Daisy were passengers on Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. 10 times now, Selena has seen the coffins arriving back in Holland, hoping another fragment of Bryce might be on board.
Every time you go to the airport and watch the coffins come out of the planes, you're thrown back to the very first day. Feels the same. And that has been many times.
Images quickly emerged of the aftermath. Professor Ko Cholin says a decision was made to tread carefully until bodies were recovered. He advised the Dutch government on its official response.
It was more out of tactical, I would say, reasons, not but to postpone the more sensitive part of the investigators as long as possible.
But details do continue to surface, mostly through independent investigations. This is Elliot Higgins, a few years ago a financial administrator, now advising Dutch police and speaking at policy conferences like this one in Berlin. Higgins was unknown by intelligence agencies until he started finding out more than them, using only information that was already available online. The disaster, he says, has changed how intelligence gathering works.
When you're looking at organisations like the police and the intelligence organisations, it's kind of about the culture of change there. They have to kind of shift to use this new information, and obviously that takes time.
Yeah, this is the room, the way they left it.
Selena is clearly deeply traumatised and utterly drained.
I open it every morning and I close it every night.
She and many others wait for justice.
How long will you
leave it like this? I think until I close my eyes.
Yeah.
For how long? They have no idea.
Guy, the Dutch Safety Board hasn't yet released its report. You mentioned in your report that investigators have been treading carefully. When this report will be issued, what can we expect to be inside that report?
We expect it to come out in October, and in terms of what's in it, well, a member of the German Parliamentary Foreign Relations Committee has told me that, amongst other things, investigators will show that heat sensors showed an exhaust fume of some sort coming from the ground towards the aircraft. That might go some way to explaining how it was shot down. In terms of who shot it down, well, you saw some of that in my report. Elliot Higgins is a man who has been closely involved with helping Dutch investigators by tracking vehicle movement on the ground. But even in October, that will only really be the start of the process. Experts here are citing that the Lockerbie bomb back in 1988, it could take years, it could even take decades to conclude this investigation.
All right, Guy Henderson in the Netherlands.